Is living alone after 65 a lonely mistake or a quiet victory? Many people assume that growing older means you shouldn't live alone. They imagine isolation, risk, and long, empty days. But in reality, living alone between the ages of 65 and 80 can be one of the most empowering choices you'll ever make. It's not about pushing people away, it's about stepping into a space that's truly yours. A space where your preferences matter, your rhythm sets the pace, and your peace is protected. Some worry that living alone means being forgotten or vulnerable, but for many older adults, it actually brings strength, clarity, and a sense of renewal. It creates room to grow, not shrink, to breathe, not brace, to rediscover the parts of yourself that may have been buried under decades of caregiving, compromise, and clutter. Living alone doesn't mean living without connection. It means living with intention. In this video, we'll explore 6 honest, often overlooked reasons why living alone in your late 60s, 70s, or even early 80s can be a wise and even joyful decision. If you've ever doubted whether independence is still for you, or if the world has tried to convince you that solitude equals sadness, this is for you. What you discover here might surprise you, in the best way. Reason number 1, a stronger sense of autonomy. There's something deeply human about wanting to make your own choices. What time to eat, what music to play, whether to spend the morning reading or just sitting quietly with a warm cup of coffee. When you live alone, you decide all of that. You don't have to explain your choices. You don't have to compromise over what's for dinner or negotiate the thermostat. For many older adults, it's the first time in decades they've been able to honor their own preferences without guilt, resistance, or interruption. Autonomy isn't about rejecting help. It's about preserving dignity. When you live with others, especially adult children or caregivers, it's easy to feel like decisions are being made for you. What begins as help can slowly turn into quiet control. Your routine starts to fit their schedule. Your needs take a back seat. And your home, the place that should be your sanctuary, becomes shared territory where your voice carries just a little less weight. Over time, that can chip away at confidence, even if everyone has good intentions. Take Norma, for example. She's 74, and after a hip injury, she moved in with her son. She appreciated the care, the meals, and the company. But slowly, she noticed herself fading into the background. She stopped playing her favorite records because her grandson didn't like the noise. She shifted her meal times to fit the household. One day, she realized she hadn't chosen her own bedtime in weeks. When Norma healed and moved back into her apartment, something changed. She walked taller. She smiled more. She danced in the kitchen again. It wasn't just about the space. It was the return of choice. Living alone gives you that choice back. It reminds you that you're not just aging. You're still living, still evolving, still worthy of shaping each day to feel right for you. That kind of autonomy builds self-respect. And self-respect, at any age, creates strength. Reason number 2, a more peaceful environment. There's a kind of quiet that only comes when you're truly alone in your own space. Not the kind of silence that feels empty, but the kind that feels clean, calm, and undisturbed. When you live alone, you get to shape that quiet. You control the volume of your day, the sounds you welcome and the ones you leave out. There's no television echoing from the next room, no footsteps at 5 a.m. waking you, no overlapping phone calls bleeding through the walls. Just the soft rhythm of your own breath, the creak of your favorite chair, the warm hum of a quiet home. That kind of environment doesn't just feel good, it heals. It soothes your nervous system. It eases anxiety. It even lowers cortisol, the stress hormone that affects everything from blood pressure to sleep quality. When you live with others, especially those who are fast-paced, noisy, or always moving, it's easy for your senses to stay on edge. But when you're on your own terms, you give yourself the gift of stillness. And in that stillness, many seniors find peace they didn't know they needed. When the people around you are chaotic or emotionally intense, it affects you, sometimes more than you realize. You begin to absorb their stress, their moods, their noise. You carry their mess. And after a while, you lose touch with what it feels like to simply be still in your own skin. Take Gloria, for example, a 70-year-old retired teacher who shared her home for 5 years with her adult daughter and 2 young grandchildren. She loved them dearly. But every day was filled with movement, noise, and constant interruption. There was always a question to answer, a spill to clean, or someone who needed her attention. By the end of each day, Gloria felt drained. When her daughter finally moved into her own place, Gloria didn't just get her home back, she got her nervous system back. Her sleep improved, her digestion calmed, even her memory felt sharper, not because of new medication, but because her body finally had the chance to rest. There's something deeply healing about having no one to perform for, especially first thing in the morning. No conversations you didn't start. No need to smile or respond before you're ready. Just you, in a quiet space that listens more than it speaks. For many seniors, that's not loneliness, it's peace. And once you experience that kind of peace, it's something you never want to trade again. If you're still here and finding value in these insights, drop a #2inches in the comments below to let me know you're watching. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a new video. Your support helps us keep creating thoughtful content to inform and inspire. Reason number 3, freedom to shape your own routine. There's real joy in moving through your day on your own terms. Waking up when your body is ready, eating when you're actually hungry, choosing when to run errands, when to rest, and when to call it a night, without checking in with someone else's plans. Living alone gives you that freedom. It returns the rhythm of your life to you. And that rhythm, once you settle into it, becomes a kind of medicine. Too often, older adults mold their days around others, whether it's an adult-child schedule, a caregiver's availability, or even a well-meaning neighbor dropping by unannounced. Slowly, your day begins to follow someone else's clock. Curated. And that adds up. Meals get rushed, sleep gets disrupted. Personal rituals like morning walks or quiet afternoon reading quietly fade away. You might not even notice it at first, but something inside begins to shrink, like a flower slowly turning away from the sun. Let me tell you about Carl, a 77-year-old widower. After a health scare, he moved into his nephew's home. At first, it felt supportive. He had care, company, and structure. But soon, Carl's mornings were consumed by the rush of the household getting ready for school. Meals were no longer his own. The house was filled with constant noise. He missed his mid-morning crossword, his slow breakfasts, his peaceful afternoons. Eventually, Carl asked to return to his own apartment. And what happened next surprised everyone. His energy returned. He started painting again. He began sleeping through the night, all because he got his time back. Having your own routine isn't selfish, it's soulful. It's how you listen to your body, care for your spirit, and move through life with intention instead of obligation. Living alone doesn't mean being isolated. It means living in alignment with your natural pace, your personal needs, and your quiet joys. And that kind of alignment creates a life that feels not just manageable, but deeply right. Reason number 4, emotional resilience and confidence. There's something powerful about proving to yourself that you can handle life on your own. Not because you have to, but because you choose to. Living alone later in life isn't just about freedom. It builds a quiet, steady kind of strength, the kind that grows from doing the everyday things. Paying bills, calling the plumber, deciding what's for dinner, and locking your front door at night. Each of these simple acts sends a message to your brain. I'm capable, I'm steady, I'm still in charge of my life. For many older adults, there's a lingering fear that independence fades with age, that being self-reliant is too much to take on. But the truth is, every time you rise to meet those small challenges, you rebuild your confidence. The truth is, managing life on your own, when done safely and intentionally, can actually rebuild confidence that may have gotten lost along the way. When you're making your own decisions and solving the small, everyday problems, your sense of self begins to strengthen. You stop second-guessing. You stop waiting for someone else to lead. And slowly, you start trusting your instincts again. Take Bernice, for instance, 81 years old. She had lived with her sister for most of her adult life. When her sister passed away, most people assumed Bernice would move in with family. But instead, she made a different choice. She decided to stay in the home they had shared. At first, she was unsure, nervous. She didn't know if she could manage everything on her own. But she did, quietly, day by day. Zimaga Khanames. She learned to handle her finances. She fixed a leaky faucet. She started taking daily walks on her own. And one afternoon, after calling to book her own doctor's appointment and driving herself there, she said out loud, I didn't know I could still do all this. That moment lit her up from the inside. Living alone gives you moments like that. Moments that reconnect who you once were with who you still are. It reminds you that aging doesn't mean disappearing. It means evolving. And the more you do for yourself, the more you believe in yourself. That belief becomes a kind of emotional armor. It steadies you when life feels uncertain. It grounds you when the future is unclear. And it fills your quiet days not with doubt, but with a deep-earned sense of pride. If you're still watching and finding value in these insights, drop a #4inches in the comments to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so and turn on the bell. Your support helps us continue making content that informs and uplifts. Reason number 5, fewer social conflicts and emotional friction. One of the most overlooked gifts of living alone in your later years is the peace that comes from having fewer daily conflicts. You're not navigating passive-aggressive remarks. You're not absorbing someone else's bad mood. You're not compromising over TV volume or biting your tongue at the dinner table. And while those things might seem small on the surface, emotional friction, especially when it's constant, can be exhausting. It quietly drains your energy and slowly chips away at your sense of ease. Sometimes, it steals your joy before you even realize it. Even with the people you love, living together can invite tension. It could be a difference in habits, opinions, or simply in how you prefer your space to feel. And while those differences are often manageable, the daily pressure to adjust, explain, or justify your choices can wear you down. Eventually, you start shrinking yourself to avoid conflict. You stop voicing your opinions. You walk on eggshells. You begin editing your joy. Consider Leonard, a 79-year-old who moved in with his daughter after a minor fall. She meant well. She wanted to help. But soon, every little decision turned into a discussion. Whether he could drive, what he should eat, if he was allowed to work in the garden. After a year, Leonard chose to move into a small senior apartment complex. Not because he didn't love his family, but because he missed having a voice. Within weeks, his posture improved, his laughter returned. He said it finally felt like home again. Living alone isn't about cutting people off. It's about choosing when and how to connect. It's about preserving your emotional boundaries. It's about making space for peaceful, intentional relationships, not ones built solely on proximity. And when you do spend time with loved ones, friends, children, neighbors, it comes from a place of wholeness, not exhaustion. That kind of clarity doesn't just help you feel better, it helps you love better, and that might be the greatest benefit of all. Reason number 6, a deeper connection with yourself. There's a kind of self-knowing that only grows in stillness. When you live alone, especially between ages 65 and 80, something begins to open up. Not just your time or your space, but your awareness. Without the constant background noise of others' opinions, without the subtle pressure to entertain or explain yourself, you begin to hear your own voice more clearly. You start to remember what actually brings you joy, what you believe in, what you long for, what still sparks your curiosity. That kind of reconnection with yourself can be surprisingly powerful, life-giving even. For so many years, we wear roles like armor, parent, spouse, employee, caregiver. Always doing, always tending to someone or something. But when life finally quiets down and you're given room to breathe, you're faced with a question that isn't sad at all, but sacred. Who am I now? What do I want this next chapter to look like? Solitude becomes the blank canvas. And from that stillness, new things begin to grow. For some, it's writing. For others, painting. Maybe it's prayer, reflection, or simply sitting in your favorite chair, watching the light shift across the room and realizing, for the first time in a while, there's no rush. Let me tell you about Harold, an 84-year-old widower who had spent much of his life surrounded by people. After his wife passed and his children moved out of state, Harold made a quiet choice. He didn't fill the silence. He didn't join every club or invite others to live with him. Instead, he sat with himself. Becky, at first, it was unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. But over time, he began to journal. Then, he started recording memories. One day, he said, "I thought I was alone, but I found someone in the quiet. I found me." Those words stayed with me. Because living alone isn't about absence, it's about presence. It's about being fully present in your thoughts, your experiences, your own unfolding life. And when you allow yourself that kind of depth, It doesn't just bring peace, it brings meaning. You begin to see that aging isn't about fading, it's about uncovering. And what you uncover isn't just comfort, it's yourself. If you're still with us and these insights have resonated, drop a #6inches in the comments to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to do so and turn on the bell so you never miss a video. Your support helps us continue to create thoughtful content to inform and inspire. Final thoughts. Living alone after 65 is often misunderstood. People assume it's lonely, risky, or a last resort. But for many, it's the complete opposite. A modasu return, a quiet unfolding, a choice to live on your own terms, while you still can. It doesn't mean shutting people out. It means inviting yourself back in. It means honoring your preferences, your time, your energy, your space. All of those things still matter, and they deserve to be protected. Magita, you've earned this chapter. Every scar, every laugh line, every hard-won boundary has brought you here. Living alone gives you space to breathe again, to think without interruption, to feel your own emotions without judgment. It offers the kind of peace that only comes from being with someone who truly understands you, and in this case, that someone is you. That kind of companionship isn't less, it's deeper. And once you experience it, you realize you weren't missing anything. You were just waiting to come home to yourself. So if you're wondering whether this way of living is right for you, don't look outward, look inward. Zitati, ask your body how it feels when the house is quiet. Karas, ask your mind what it does when no one's watching. Ask your spirit what it longs for when the day is entirely your own. The answers might not come loudly, but they'll come truthfully. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below with one thing you took from this video and how you plan to use it in your own life. Your thoughts mean a lot to us, and reading them truly motivates and encourages us. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content for you. Thanks again for being here, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.